It's all right. We're not on the big numbers yet. Anyway, there's not big numbers listening, so we're all right. I'll take my headphones off. I don't want to look too much like Alan Partridge anyway.
It's amateur hour here, isn't it?
I'm loving the comments already.
Listen,
is this what a club directors meeting's like?
It's not this good. They're not that organised.
At least we all turned up.
Chris Brogan, nice. I like it.
It's Chris.
Right, are we talking about
getting involved? Yeah, because we've got all night. I thought we were going to stay on like do a 20, like like a curl-a-thon.
Well, we could do a 20-minute chat about curl, couldn't we? But I'm not sure the wife's going to be pleased I'm doing it all night.
Yeah, first time for everything.
Hey!
Here's another one chipping in here. Bit like Latinx, not communicating. Hey, listen, Mr. Walton, we're flying now. Everyone can hear each other. Here we go. Confirmation from Richard Harrison, Matt Adamandy coming through loud and clear. Can't hear Brad.
Cheers,
unusual because you usually loudest, aren't you, Brad? Add to stream.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
There we go.
Hey.
I think I found I didn't have my volume turned up.
Can you hear me now? Hey, look at this. Got multi-screens and everything. It's all going on. Right, listen.
Let's
nice to see you, lads. Listen, we've got a massive whopping 46 people tuning in. I think there's a few zeros missing off that. I think it's supposed to be 46,000 or million. But yeah, this is fun, isn't it? Can you, off the top of your heads, I don't know if you looked at when, or you can remember when Harry Kewell was sacked, and we had that. He was done he sacked on a Sunday, and we just recorded and edited the podcast. I was just about to put it out, and then that happened. Can you remember when that was?
February.
7th of March.
Before we played Port Vale, weren't it?
Yeah. So it's about like 9 months since we had this virtually the same conversation. I think at the time there was a lot of people saying Keith Curl, that's exactly the type of manager that we need. Experience of getting teams out of this division and all that.
On face value, it is. You look at his record, really, at Carlisle and Northampton, the two clubs that he managed before. And he was at Carlisle for 4 years. He managed 207 games and had just under a 40% win ratio, 38%, 79 wins, 66 losses. Then he went to Northampton and was at Northampton for 125 games over 2 and a bit years. And had, again, pushing 40% win percentage there. So like 47 wins, 46 losses. But of course, some of those were in League One before he got binned. On face value, that man knows how to manage a 4th division football team, doesn't he?
Well, so what else might be going on at the club, Andy?
Well, embargoes, interference from the owners.
Don't believe you.
So you just have whoever they get in, and this is what we've been saying on the pod over the last few weeks. Whoever they get in now to replace him, whether they've got somebody in mind lined up, doesn't look like they have if they put their mate Selim in charge, caretaker charge. Whoever they get in, their hands are tied. The other thing I noticed is, when's the last time? Okay, I guess this is the argument over the summer that Keith Curl, I think you made this, Matt, argument a few times. Keith Curl had a transfer window to bring in his own players, and he brought Hallam Hope in. Because the other thing that always happens is, like you talked about with Kewell, I think it was February, so we're outside of a transfer window when Curl was brought in, and then again they fire him now, and you just wonder whether Selim stays in charge until the end of the January transfer window, so Mo and Selim can sign all the players they want, and whoever comes in as manager gets left with a load of duck eggs again.
Well, that happened with Benid, didn't it? We got Benid. We did start of July and his little transfer window, then binned him off and got Dino in the September.
Exactly. And it's a pattern that happens a lot, that they never seem to get a manager in to give them a transfer window or two to bring in their own player. The argument is Curley's the first one that's had the summer, and he's gone and blown it on Hallam Hope.
If you remember, though, those first couple of signings came in within maybe 1 or 2 days of each other, because nothing had happened early on in the pre-season, had it? Everything was really quiet, and then all of a sudden we brought 5 signings in. The club were bigging it up like it was us signing Messi and Ronaldo. And after those 5 signings, nothing really happened. They didn't bring any real quality in, did they? Other than a few trialists that had been there for a while. And we sort of dried up with any real quality then. And I think straight away everyone knew from that point on it was only going to be a downward spiral given the lack of quality that's coming. I mean, you only have to look at the absolute cock-up from McGahey and Leutwiler's contracts to see how much of a shambles the close season's been. So, if their contract's been messed up so badly, what other negotiations have we completely mixed up and messed up and pissed people off to the point where they don't want to come to the club?
Well, who was that lad that was one of there was a player that Kerr wanted because he played for him before at Carlisle, and he'd been at Port Vale, and he chose AFC filed over us, didn't he, in the summer? What was he called?
He was about 32, 33, weren't he?
Yeah.
I remember Oldham Times did a bit of a piece on him. He said, he'll make his decision, and then obviously went foul. But there was a few other players like that. I think Harry Smith was one we wanted. He went to Leyton Orient. Curl took him to Northampton. Type striker you need for this level. But again, chose somewhere else because of what's going on at the club. In the summer, like Adam touched on there, then 5 or 6 signings where you looked on paper, first of all, they're decent enough League Two players, but you can't just rely on them 5 or 6 players who we brought in. We needed to bring in 5 or 6 more of decent quality.
It was Luke Joyce, by the way, that went to. But this is the point, isn't it? Is the embargo constraints and the financial constraints meant that Curl was probably trying to sign players that might well have, Hallam Hope hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked. But some other players that he might well have signed have gone elsewhere, and we've missed out on them. And that's down to the owners, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one thing that you can level at Curl is the fact that he kept persisting with this 3 at the back. Like, that's, I mean, it was the one thing every single week that we looked at and we say, why? And every time he switched it to 4 at the back, it was off the back of us losing. Like, we were losing a game and he tried to shore it up. And that tells you everything, doesn't it, that you need to know if a manager's doing that. But in the end, the next game comes along and he bloody switches back to 3 at the back again. So he didn't do himself any favours in that respect, did he?
No, he loved that 3-5-2. Under, as I said, the worst thing was that 3-5-2 formation. He didn't have anywhere to stick Bahambula. Under Kewell, he played on the wing, petrified defenders at this level. And then we decided, all right, he can be our target man. Put him in the middle, and he was just absolute loss. We just completely waste of a player. But he had to stick him in because he's one of our best players. But just some of the tactics he had, he was just dire. And I wouldn't have gone a few weeks back. Well, probably start the season. I probably wouldn't have kept him because he didn't really do much, did he, from February to May to show that he was any decent.
Yeah, it's back down to the same situation, though, isn't it? I mean, who comes in? I mean, his mate comes in from Salim, Absolutely. I mean, we had Paul Murray on the podcast back in springtime, I think it was, and he was telling us about Salim coming in, and that he was a decent coach, but he was settling in, and the amount of how inexperienced he was. Certainly think it's a bit of a jump up to managing the first team, isn't it?
Especially given he's never really done anything in this country. All of his experience has been at a lot of lower clubs across the world, really. It's not even been, in one country. It's been spread, but We were looking at his record earlier on for the youth team this year, and the minus 13 goal difference, which sounds familiar to the first team. 9's out of 14 teams. And the last 3 games have lost 3-0 to Blackpool, 8-2 to Accrington, and 2-1 to Carlisle. Doesn't fill you with, and there's a couple of teams below them who have won, who have still got a couple of games in hand. So, you know, they might be doing all right in the FA Cup, but the league records, a lot to be desired.
Definitely. One thing, obviously, I want to bring up. My mate saw him on Instagram Live around pre-season time. He was on Instagram Live with Diarra, and he asked him a question, and he replied saying, "I don't speak much English." I know previously with Benid, they had Mohamed Maush, who was a translator. He translated for the players. Is that going to be a problem? We don't have really anybody who can translate well. Are the players going to be able to get his instructions across? Or is Mo going to be coming down on the bench and translating for him?
Oh, perfect. A job for Mo. We found one for him.
Is this now the just the perfect scenario for them now? They've just, I mean, somebody was saying there on the comments, like, you know, it's not Keith that picked the team, it's Mo, and we don't know, do we, just how much pressure Curl was under to select certain players or not. When you actually try and do like the fan hub thing where you try and predict the team and you look at the players available and the squad available, it really shouldn't be that hard because it kind of picks itself insofar as we've really not got that many players that are actually capable of playing first team football at the minute. So it does make you wonder when you see the likes of Dylan Fage coming on at right wing and then staying on the pitch last night as well, being put at right back. You know, both two positions you can't play. I don't know what position. It's another one, Andy. It's like we're talking about Alan Moore. What position does he play? You're looking at some of these other lads, and you know, what position do they play? They might be able to impress more on a training pitch by doing some flick ups and, hey, watch this trick I can do, and you know, maybe that's what it is. But you stick with very different that in it than actually playing a game of football.
Dylan Fage, when I went to Ipswich away the other week, Dylan Fage was absolutely atrocious in that game. He couldn't trap a bag of cement. He had a foot like a sheriff's badge. He just kept pinging off him all over the show. He was absolutely hopeless. So I don't really know what the lad brings. He's quick, that's it. But he never delivers a decent pass or cross, or very rarely at least.
He did one in the FA Cup last season, didn't he? In the first round, was it Richmond and Hampton or something? He put one good ball in. And that's been framed. That's the picture of that in Roger Palmer bar. There's just, you go through that team and you try and pick it and you're just thinking, Jesus, like, so Salim when he comes in, I mean, usually what they do in it when you've got in this position is you just pick the best 11, don't you? You just say, there you go for the game coming up on Saturday now. Stick your best 11 down. Is our best?
Well, it's got to be 4-4-2. You said last night on the podcast Twitter account, you said something like, "I dare you, Keith, to play 3-5-2 at Salford with 1,300 Latics fans behind the goal. Good luck." So
I tell you what, it'll take bigger bollocks for Salim to do it now.
That'll be a proper 2 fingers up on it from the club. That'll be Abdallah Mo and Selim just saying, "Yeah, I'll shove it to him. Let's play 3-5-2." I mean, he's got to go 4-4-2.
Keith was doing it wrong. This is 3-5-2. It has to be, doesn't it? So right. Let's we know that there's all the issues. We know everything that's going on, right? But let's focus on trying to get as many points as we can between now and Christmas, right? And January and whatever might unfold. But so Luke Weiler's the only option we've got in goal, yeah? So I'm going to call out a team. I want you to stop me when you vehemently disagree with what I'm selecting. So I'm going to go
4-4-2.
No, I'm going to go 2-6. So I'm going to go with Jordan Clark at right back and McGee and Pierre Gianni at centre half and Sam Hart at left back. Are we all good with that?
I like Couto, me.
I like Couto and all, but I think I probably want to play him a bit further up the pitch if I was going to play him.
I was hoping you were going to say that. Yeah, I'll play him left wing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go on then, Andy. Finish off the midfield for us.
So you could Bahambula is going to be a winger, so you can play him on the left or the right. Couto on the other side. And
Couto's got to play left, though, hasn't he? Because he's got a left foot.
Couto's got to play left, but Bahambula could play either, so you put him on the right hand side, and then two in the middle. Whelan, only for Adam.
Thank you.
We know he likes him. Whelan.
Yeah, you want to say Cisse, don't you? You want to say Cisse, you love it.
We don't need two holding midfielders in League Two. I think you play attacking midfielder, like Keelan Dunn behind the two strikers.
I'm definitely not putting Cisse in after that performance that we saw. I know we beat Port Vale, but he was absolutely abysmal. So no, but it's just tough, that, isn't it? But Keelan Dunn, you want to play Keelan Dunn in midfield, Brad?
Yeah, play him attacking mid, so have the midfield as a diamond. Whelan holding.
Is Whelan going to add your? But them two aren't going to add your bite in there, though, are they?
Honestly,
saying that we've got no
bite.
This is
the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
this is
the
part
midfield.
of the problem.
Yeah, the midfield doesn't defend, and he doesn't create any goals. I don't think they've created anything. So, as I said, you might as well just stick Whelan there in defensive mid, play Keelan Dunn on the attacking mid, and whoever two strikers up top. I'd have Piergiani up top. I was
just about to say that. Yeah. So you could play Sam Hart at centre half, put Couto at left back, and then stick Piergiani as the number 9.
I think it's
funny. How bad must you feel as a striker knowing that a big glute from non-league is better than you up front? What does that say about the quality of players that we've got at the minute?
Yeah, well, it says everything, doesn't it? I mean, the thing is with Piergiani, it's one thing sticking him up there for 10 minutes. It's another thing sticking him up there for 90 minutes. You know, playing that out of position like that. It's not something you can just do and expect him to do it well. You know what I mean? It takes.
Well, he doesn't defend
skill.
very well. That's the problem. He doesn't defend very well. He's got a mistake in him. He's dangerous in both halves. So keep him out way up top. He might actually do something more.
Well, to be fair, someone's just made a good point. What about Nicky Adams?
What about? Yeah, well, Nicky Adams, I think.
Nicky Adams in the centre.
To be honest with you, for me, Adams and Bahambula, neither of them have the legs for a full 90 minutes. So I'd switch between the two of them on the right hand side, and just keep working it like that. To be honest. I think someone said there about Harry Vaughan. Harry Vaughan for me is a number 10, but you need somebody with a bit more presence who can hold the ball up to play with him. And there's nobody like that. Piergiani is the only option. So look, it's really hard because we've not got there's no balance in the squad. Who's this here now has just listed something about. It's Robin. Saying about Hopcut, Hope, Fairs, DKD. Like Hopcut, for example, they're all very similar. Hopcut, DKD, they're cut from a similar cloth, aren't they, really? Durnley, kind of short, kind of stature. There's not anything physically different about a lot of these players. And it's like, the front three the other day was Hopcut, Keelan Dunn, and Durnley. It's just... It's too samey, isn't it? There's not enough balance in there at all, is there? Not enough difference.
But you look at how many midfielders we've got, and realistically, none of them are really worth the salt, are they? You wouldn't keep any of them next season if you had a chance. None of them are getting you out of League Two.
No.
You've got no bite in there. I thought Cisse, when he was at MK Dons, I really liked him. And I thought every time he played against us, he destroyed us in the centre. So when he came to us, not really seen him since, I thought he'd turn out to be a decent signing for us, and I think most people did. But then having seen a couple of his performances, tell you what, Leighton have done us over there, haven't they?
He could barely run. He could barely run against Port Vale. He looked like he had knock knees to me. He's like his legs turned in. He looked like he could barely move.
I think the worst thing he did against Port Vale, it was on the north stand side where he tried playing the ball down the line to Fage. It was like a simple 2-yard pass. He just knocked it straight out. I thought it was one of the worst performances I've seen. Last night again, he was. I think he played further up the pitch and he just didn't do anything. I think he just fell over a few times, and no wonder he got hooked at half time. Obviously, do you know when a manager does leave, a few of the players who have been isolated do come back into the fold. Obviously, Jameson's not been heard of, and Diarra. Do you think we'll see?
Giving me nightmares here, Brad. Stop it.
Well, you don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Diarra knocking about the squad again.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? You're saying about the relationships that they've got as well, and like being able to communicate and stuff like that. It's Diarra coming in a holding midfield position. Wouldn't surprise me.
The first player to finish with 20 yellow cards in a season.
Could you just run through the next set of fixtures, like up to Christmas, right? So we've got Salford away on Saturday. Salford are currently 16th in the table, 6 points in front of us. Massive, massive game. Huge game, that, isn't it? Then after that, you've got Tranmere at home. I'm only going league games. I'm not bothering with the Paint Pot Cup. Tranmere at home. Tranmere are currently 10th in the table. Although not in a great run of form. They've lost the last 3 games, but they're 10th. Then you've got Forest Green on the boycott game. If anyone's listening, you're a season ticket holder, don't go to that game. The boycott game, they're top of the table. Jesus. Then we've got Crawley away on the 18th. Crawley are 17th on the same points as Salford. That's massive as well, isn't it?
Mm.
Then after that, then it's Christmas, Boxing Day, Scunthorpe, bottom of the table. I mean, you're going to know. I reckon you're going to know by Boxing Day, aren't you, whether we're going up or whether we're staying up or going down.
Going up?
Staying up. You're going to know by Boxing Day, aren't you?
We played Scunthorpe. Last season we had Salford and Scunthorpe, didn't we? And we got battered, didn't we? Was it last season that? Or was the season before?
Didn't we beat Salford at home last year? Because that was
that's right. I'm thinking the season before. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, depends if Scunthorpe start picking up some points under Keith Hill now, or Carlisle are definitely struggling. You know, we've got a 2-point cushion, but that's gone in blink of an eye. We lose on Saturday. It's massive game Saturday, isn't it? Really is.
Are we thinking that Salim's going to be kept in place till January? So if we obviously get out of our financial situation with the embargo, do we feel like we're getting anywhere?
They've not got anyone lined up this time. So normally when they give someone the bullet, they've got someone that they've already tapped up that's lined up to come in. It doesn't look like they've got one this time. So this looks like we're in for a bit with Salim. See, I'm still of the view that they're losing interest. So I still think that
they're not in the country anywhere near as much, are they?
Correct. So I'm in the view that they're losing interest, and this is now panic stations because they're going to relegate us again, and their asset is going to be absolutely and utterly worthless. So this is just yeah. But without any football league membership,
yeah, that's literally your golden ticket, isn't it? Nothing else is worth anything.
It is. Well, we read in that article the other week, didn't we, about like your TV money drops from something like, I can't remember the number now. We put it out on a podcast a while ago. Something like, a few $100 grand to like £80,000. Like your TV money drops dramatically when you drop out of the football league. And these guys, we've got us under embargo while they've got that money coming in. They're going to be absolutely knackered. We're going to be knackered, and their asset is going to be knackered if we drop them to the non-league.
Well, to be fair, looking at our wage budget, when Carl was there, he told us that they were trying to keep it under $1 million. So if they're keeping it under $1 million, we spoke to a couple of people in National League who advised that budget would have you about 10th in National League.
Yeah.
Out of all teams in that league, that is what your budget's looking at.
Well, we had that conversation the other day about the fact that Stockport, you've seen David Else sent a message before, Selim will be interim manager until they disappear, or the club does. I think I probably agree with that. But we talked about the other day, Stockport are 11th, and they had a team that, with they've got front Quigley and Paddy Madden, and they're 11th. Yeah,
scary, isn't it? It's scary because obviously if they're already looking at that sort of budget, but the thing is, there's been cost cutting for years. Ever since he's come in, after that little windfall of a couple of different players, ever since then the budget on and off the field constantly been dropped. This plan that he had originally to say, "Don't worry, we'll be pushing back up," it's never happened. The club's never been financially backed to get us up anywhere since. All the players that have come in have been loan players.
He's worth 40 million quid, though.
Tell you what,
I mean, I nearly said something that I shouldn't have said then about that, but about him, about that man who owns the football club, like, because he's made a right bollocks of this, hasn't he? A right bollocks of it. And however he made his money in the past, he must have shown a great deal more acumen than he has managed to do in this venture. Brad, you're a director at OASF, and you were at the club today, weren't you? Ready for your meeting? Because I was linking that to the fact that you're talking about financials and getting in there and finding out what's going on. Take it you had a really fruitful day.
Did you get wet?
Yes. So me and Jason, we burdened ourselves. We thought, right, we'll go down and meet Mr. Brown, the new general manager. So I thought, right, we'll get down there, do a bit of planning. So we didn't really want to go in there, be all nicey anyway. We wanted to basically say, you put them 4 or 5 promises into the club, to the fans. You delivered on none. We're at it, and we want the fans for them. As I said, they've got to have 2 every year, and we want these people in front of the fans, and the fans need to say how they're feeling, and basically tell them to the face. So we went down, got an email. He said, "Oh, I've had to rearrange the meeting." So we stood outside. So I replied me. I said, "Very disappointing." We stood outside. Salim was there with the head of academy. They were outside talking. They moved on, and then he came out, spoke to us, and he basically said, "Oh, I apologise. All this is going on." So I went, "No, it's disappointing that." I said, "It's an absolute joke. We took time off work to come down here to meet you, and you're saying, oh, we've got all this on. You would have known about Keith Curl being sacked in the morning. You could have dropped us a message saying, right, that something's happening at the club. Right, we can't meet." And then it would have been a bit better than how they did it. I lost my cool a bit. Jason was pretty calm. I basically just said that it's disgraceful. You just keep treating us with contempt. Last month you wouldn't meet us. This month again, you're not meeting us. We're shareholders in this club. You signed the memorandum of understanding. We can come into the club. We want to see and we want to speak to you, to tell you basically to your face that we want this to happen. Where's your 3-year plan and stuff like that. And he said, "Oh, I understand your frustration. I worked under the Oystons. I knew what they were like. So it got me going, right. So we've had Carl Evans at Bury. We've got this new fella who's worked under the Oystons. You just think his face dropped. I don't think he felt. I don't think he knew what we were actually going there meeting him for. It was very bizarre.
It's just the whole club at the minute has just got a full non-league, semi-professional feel about it, hasn't it? Everything from top to bottom at the minute is literally a shambles, and there's so many people who said, "I went on Saturday for the first time. What's happened? Stands falling apart. You know, some of the bars not serving anything." You go in and there's nothing. There's nothing to keep people interested. And it's no surprise that even people who are going have had enough, because You go there, Andy. Obviously, you've come up from London to watch that on Saturday.
At least we
Tell
won.
you what, you must have passed a couple of bridges and thought, you know.
I'll tell you what, this whole 3-year plan that Brad's just mentioned that he promised us and we never got. Do you think we might get one now? He's got Selim in charge and Keith's gone.
Not a chance. I can't see him having a plan whatsoever. I think Dave touched on it. I had that when I was speaking to Binman when he got announced. I said that I've got a feeling he's going to be kept as interim manager. If he does bad, he can move back to the youth team. If he does good, he's going to be kept as interim manager. They're not going to sack him. Not going to sack the mate. So I think this is, like I said, I think this is stuck with Selim. But going back to that, but yeah, it is. I think again we're running the staff levels are pretty low. So this is the problem we've got. So he said to us, "Oh, I've got all this media stuff to deal with." So I don't have a clue what media stuff because I've not seen anything come from any other source other than when we've announced it. But it just shows that there's nobody there doing any jobs, is there?
No. Someone just put there, Binman is innocent, which of course he is. But Selim was knocking around that day, wasn't he, Brad? I believe
he was. He was next to Mo, and I can't remember what the other guy was called. I think I can't remember his name, but yeah, Selim there. So he has been. He does go to quite a lot of games, Selim. He has been there with Mo, I think, majority of the season watching.
Yeah, and he's also seen in the gym periodically, with sort of accompanying what looks like players getting fit, coming back from fitness, but it isn't always players you recognise.
Look, I mean, the reason I brought up the incident at Ashton United there was it's just another unsavoury incident in it. It's just another thing that's left another bad taste in the mouth, and like the way that the club is being run and how desperate this situation is, but how trivially and disrespectfully the club are treating it. You know, like sat like I'm talking to you lads now, talking to Abdallah with Steve, saying to them, like, do you realise how desperate this situation is and how much you need to do to turn this around? How hard you're going to have to work to impress the fans now and to show us that you mean business. And they've just done the polar opposite of everything, haven't they? And it's just, you know, I mean, we're talking to fans from Leyton Orient and stuff, and they're telling us like this is just repeat behaviour. It seems to be the type of behaviour of a certain type of individual or individuals. When this kind of thing starts to play out, it seems to be like a bit of a playbook, doesn't there? And they seem, I don't know if they share it, they're passing it around, or if it's online or what, but there's definitely some striking similarities between what's happened at Orient and Blackpool.
Yeah, definitely. They just don't care. I don't think they understand. Well, I think they do understand, but they just don't care what we all think as fans. They're just happy doing what they're doing, and we just keep kicking up a fuss, and they're just not bothered. I think someone put it on Twitter. He said us and Push the Boundary should just cut ties and just leave them to do what they do. But that's the point where we're getting to. We tried, Matt. You've tried speaking to him previously. With an issue, we said right. We wanted to try as we came in as directors. We said right. We want to try and work with us, but you need to come to us. They had that one meeting which we had in September, and nothing. We've had nothing since. They've not come to us. I went to that Steve Brown to try and get a meeting, but none of them come to us, did they?
No, they've not reached out to us at all.
No, you look at it obviously from your lad's point of view as the foundation. Now you're at step 3, and I think you're at step 3 for a reason. Now that engagement's clearly not going to happen, and I think it's way past that for both groups, isn't it? Now. Where do you go with a club that doesn't want to know about fans' concerns, doesn't want to make the experience better? I mean, Tranmere the other day, one of their owners had put out a message saying who'd like to be part of a group that looked at ways of making the club better for supporters. And I sent him a message saying, send it to Oldham's owners. And then I had a comment back saying, well, Natalie tried to set that up. But it's all right setting something up. It's about actions, showing us, if fans aren't happy with stuff, change things. Don't leave it the same and just nod and walk away with it. But that's all it's about. It's about lip service, nothing else. You will never see any actions. Anything that the club have brought up since Abdallah's been in charge, 90% of it, probably more, has not happened. Look at his 3-year plan. You could probably strike through most of it now. And, this 3-year plan that he's been producing, I don't know whether he's writing one word a day, but it's taken a while, isn't it?
Surely, if anything, this really just highlights the need for the foundation and PTB, if indeed that's how it manifests, to come together to raise as much money as we possibly can and be clear exactly what that money is for, because we're going to need it soon, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are things going on, and like we can't talk about everything that's happening as much as we'd like to, but there are things happening. It's not, I don't want everyone to completely lose heart over all this situation. Do you know what I mean? The thing is, it's like it's like this podcast. What we've done with it's like PTB. What we've done, what we've been over the last year, 18 months, is consistent. We've delivered consistently, and we've delivered a consistent message consistently. And people can get behind it. They can see you try. And even if they don't agree with everything you say, I have conversations with people say, I really like your podcast. I don't agree with everything you say, but I like your podcast. And that's brilliant, because I wouldn't expect everyone to agree with everything that I said. But I like the fact that people want to listen to different points of view, and that's really, really important. And the club, like you were saying there, Adam, about, well, Natalie tried, just because something is, it's like you hear that all the time. Well, we tried that back in the 90s. It's 2021 now. Like, things have changed. Even if you tried something last year, if you tried something last month and it didn't work, doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means that you might have to try it differently. It might mean that you have to be consistent in what you're doing. And then not being consistent, you have to keep going. You have to keep plugging away. And they just can't be asked, can they? Because if they could, they would. And they're just not bothered. I've said this before on the podcast. It's the same audience. We all have the same audience. The football club, the podcast, PTB, the foundation. And there's been people like in the past, historically and currently, that have misjudged how you need to communicate to that audience. And there's people that are doing it well, and there's people that aren't doing it well. And you would have thought that the people that weren't doing it well would take a leaf out of the other people's book, wouldn't you? And say, well, what are they doing right? They seem to be in a zone. What is it about what they're doing that's working? And I would suggest that it's consistency that is the key.
Someone I forgot to mention a minute ago was when Brad was, describing the fact that putting Selim in interim charge, it sort of works both ways for them, because they can send him back to the youth. So if it doesn't work out, they can keep him in charge if it does. A bit like they did with Pete Wild to some degree. It could also indicate, if they're bringing Selim into the first team picture, that they're thinking of shutting the youth system down.
It has been rumoured.
We've had a couple of emails about this in the last week, saying obviously that there's been concerns raised over whether the academy rather than the youth team, because I think youth team would be easier to bring people through. You just pick up a load of free trialists from other clubs, but the suggestion that there was concerns over the academy. We've not been able to find anything definitive on that. You'd like to think that if the club had heard about these concerns, they'd put something out to nip it in the bud, but I'm not holding my breath on that one.
I don't know how they can think about shutting it down. The two players which Abdallah's made money on are players which have come through the youth team, Edmondson and Zach Emerson. Obviously, we've got Vaughan coming through, Couto, Luamba, who potentially all three of them are apparently, according to them, they're valued at £1 million each.
And whose players are there, Brad? Who brought them through?
The youth team
but who
players.
brought them through? Paul Murray brought them through, didn't he? And he's been binned off, hasn't he?
Yeah, because he wanted somebody who wanted to be behind the job, behind the desk job.
So the one guy that's brought through the players that are actually bringing some value has also been gotten rid of. So, like, what is the strategy here? What is the fuck going on with this? Because
it's mad, isn't it?
Desperate, isn't it? And you know, I never thought we'd be in a position where it was rumoured a couple of years ago, wasn't it, when Abdallah and Mo set up their own academy that was going to be based at the training ground and stuff. I don't even think that got off the floor, did it? Whether they'd be bringing players in from abroad and getting them integrated into the club, but
there was one man who touted that the youth setup got disbanded before, though, wasn't there? Another legend of the club.
Yeah, another legend of the club a few years ago floated the idea, didn't he? I remember I was at the club very shortly after that happened, and I walked past Tony Philliskirk, who was running the academy at the time, and I said to Tony, "What did you make of that individual's suggestion that we're shutting down the academy that was put out on the official website the other day?" And a load of words that he used I can't repeat.
You can say that it was Barry Owen, though.
Oh, it was Barry that Tony was talking about. Yeah, of course it was, yeah. It was Barry Tony was talking about, and Tony used just a tirade of expletives to explain the situation. But what I found interesting was Philliskirk actually stopped and talked to me, and he said, "Look, the problem with doing something like that is in a public environment. If the club was debating shutting it down, then I'd like to put that in a public environment, or to let that seep out that might be what they're thinking, is you've got 2, 3 or 4 players in your youth setup that are showing promise, maybe like the lad Sims at the minute up front. If you're going to shut it down, all that happens is agents circle around them and try and pinch him off and take him to other clubs." So actually, he was like Philliskirk said, it causes me an enormous amount of work now. So he's a beep.
Also, I remember about under Corney, he said the running costs of the academy, I think it's something like $250,000, but you do make your money. There's also deals which go on behind the scenes from the lads from I think 9 to 16, where you get players who could transfer to Everton, City, were the main ones, which he said were young lads, but you'll never know the deal because it's behind the scenes. So you also have them on the quiet. So the academy must be making money, and we do bring players through. If they're good enough, we do give them a chance, because that's what we need to do. We need to build for the future, and that's how this day and age you make money, through bringing players through and selling them on. Look at all the clubs who do it, like Peterborough. They're a bit different. They buy from non-league.
Exeter are a great example, aren't they?
Yeah, look how much money Exeter made. You got Watkins. How many players they brought through, and they've just gone on and made.
Didn't you have Stockley as well?
Listen, lads,
it's about half a dozen. They've got one. They got one that is it Ethan Ampadu or something like that. One wasn't that come from there or something like that. There's loads of them.
There's a secret here. Nobody knows, right? But if you go into the lower leagues in France, there's loads of really, really good players there.
That 4th and 5th division.
Bring them over, yeah, and then they'll like set League 2 on fire, and then you just sell them off for millions, and then you're laughing.
It's didn't work, state of affairs, isn't it, at the minute?
Didn't work, and there was no plan. That was the plan, wasn't it? That was literally the plan.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a plan. It was like an idea. It was like me and you, Brad, sitting in the pub, and we've had like 6 or 7 pints, and I'm like backing you on the. I tell you what, Brad, this is a good idea, and that's like the basis of their first 5-year plan. I mean, it was as loose as that, really.
Yeah, it's. If you read back the email from the 5-year plan, he said they want a European style academy. We've had nothing like it, have we? Nothing like it.
We've had loads of European lads. Does that not count? Is that what it means?
I don't know. A European academy would be something like I don't know what you'd be thinking. You're thinking young lads going through, playing here for a couple of years and going through, and like maybe sending them on loan to Ashton United. That apparently works well, doesn't it? And they get sent back.
Chris Brogan's just put a good point on. What has actually been passed to us is not. He's just raised it, not to obviously get confused with it. Is the youth team would stay, but the lower the teams from 16 downwards would disappear. So we've got to what's a Cat 4 academy, which basically means you've just got a youth team, nothing else. Youth team is 16 to 18 years, so you'd have nothing below that.
And where are you gonna get the 16-year-olds from?
You get them from. You have plenty of scouting places that at the end of every year, all released players that are struggling to get clubs go to a big, almost like a tournament, and they play a number of different games at different places up and down the country to try and get a club. And that's how I would imagine we'd end up picking players up in the end.
Sounds very European, Brad,
rather than getting people from City or United that are potentially getting released, you could be getting from anywhere, really. So it makes a bit of a mockery of the whole youth system then, because what are you going to really pick up at 16 years old?
I mean, I'm sure you can pick up. I'm sure football's about opinions, and there'll be 16-year-olds discarded that turn out. Well, look at it wasn't Tarkowski discarded by
absolutely.
Blackburn, for instance.
You've got to look at though in that who's going to come to Oldham Athletic in our current guys.
Totally. I'm being facetious, really. I think it's short-sighted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. It just seems madness. But
the thing is, though, once you disband that setup, it's not. You then don't have the infrastructure within the club to just re-implement it again, do you? You're taking something out that then needs replacing completely in the future, and it just goes against everything that was in the initial plan. But obviously, we've not had this 3-year plan, which divides it. I mean, that might come back with that in it. I mean, if you could come back and justify what his reasons were for things, then at least that'd be a start. But we're never going to get it, are we, Brad? We're never going to get that plan.
No, I can't see it. The thing is, right? They said, I think it was a Carl Evans production where this 3-year plans come from. It's Carl Evans production, and they've no idea what they're talking about. And he would have said to us, right, fair enough, we've got this 3-year plan. It's going to be delayed. But he just radio silence. He would have said, right, we've got a 3-year plan. It's going to be delayed. Right, you're going right. You might have gone right. Fair enough. Fans would have kicked off anyway. But now, every time they tweet, just have a look at the comments. Where's your 3-year plan? It's just an absolute mockery. It's just. I just don't understand what goes on behind the scenes at Boundary Park. It's an absolute circus.
Stop giving them your money, I say.
You did say before as well about who wants us. You said about the manager before. Do you think we will? Who do you want? Do you think we will get another manager in, or do you reckon it is selling for the time being?
I reckon it's selling now. I reckon it's selling for the rest of the season. I can't see how they're going to get anybody else to come in.
You can't have a complete novice in charge of a relegation battle.
Who's going to come in? Like, who's going to come in? I just don't.
I had a look at the list. You have Beck Victor on the list. They've got some like big names. They're all big. I was like Paul Tisdale, Michael Flynn. They're the ones, if you're a decent club and you're ambitious, that's the ones you'd be going for.
Tisdale's a Southerner. He's not going to come up here.
No, definitely not. But there's nobody I can think of. Paddy always says, there's only 92 jobs. There's always people who want in jobs. Stuff like Anthony Gerrard has thrown his hat into the ring, Anthony, on Twitter. That'd be a fun one when Moore gets his CV. But I can't think of anyone. Normally you think of the old one. And when we're in relegation trouble, the one man we turn to is John Sheridan. But he got pissed off and he left, didn't he?
Yeah, there's no way he'd come back under it. No way.
Back, is there? I mean, they wouldn't. Even if they They wouldn't do that to hurt their own pride anyway.
Yeah,
No.
They wouldn't do it.
And
It wouldn't surprise me if we went for a non-league manager that had done pretty bang average in non-league to make out like we were bringing in someone with massive potential, and we were going to give them time. Maybe the lads from Chester who've just disappeared today.
What have they left? Chester?
Parked his car at the club.
Chris Brogan, yeah. Well,
Fresh tan at the ready with Phil Brown.
I mean, that'll be
just another. There's nothing in the Big Sam at Rochdale. Then that's not happening. No.
No, you were mates with Stockdale, weren't you? That's the reason him and Sammy Lee were there, apparently. But like you said, you can't think of anyone, can you? Who you want? Who's out of job? Like a couple of weeks back, we would have reacted sooner. I would have gone for Keith Hill.
To be fair, someone's just made a very good point about who we could bring in. Mick, multiple accounts. Very good shout. Very good shout. No, but it's always, for me, like there's a couple of people, Paul Ince has been mentioned there and a couple of others. It's probably going to be someone that's been out of work for a while or someone from the lower leagues, isn't it? Or like National League or lower. It's not going to be anyone with any real quality, surely.
Well, just reputationally, I think it's just going to be a case of like they'll be phoning up people that have interviewed before or whatever, and phoning around going, "Do you want the job?" And they're like, "Fuck off!" And like, "Do you want the job? Do you want the job?" And then just basically just get to the last number in the phone book that says, "Yeah, I think," because it's just the worst job in the football league, isn't it? I mean, possibly Carlisle and Scunthorpe filled their spot, didn't they? They got Keith Hill in, but I suppose that gives
there's nobody else out of work. Like you said, if you're looking for people with ambition, like you said before about conference, the only manager which I say who's done a very good job and he's doing it well again this year is Pete Wild. But again, he's another one will come back, but with his Lemsegans weren't here.
Right, here you go. I've got Bet Victor up here. So selling me 7-4 favourite. Then you've got Michael Flynn at 12-1. Now, after the job that Michael Flynn did at Newport, or it went sour at the end, I know, but he did a brilliant job at Newport. You think he'd be looking at a team that could compete at the top end of League Two, wouldn't you?
12-1's a big jump, isn't it?
7-4 to 12-1. Then you've got Paul Tisdale, and like I said, where's he been? Bristol Rovers, Exeter, MK Dons. He's not coming up. He's not coming up north. I'm not having it. Chris Beach, who just got fired by Carlisle. Well, that'll help. He's at 16s. Paul Simpson, Northwich Victoria.
Where's he been? Where's he been for years?
Northwich Victoria, 16s. Jim Bentley at Fylde, 16s. John McGreal, who was at Swindon just before they got when we spoke to the Swindon Trust the other week. He was the guy in situ before Power got removed. Paul Ince, he wasn't managed since 2014, his 20s. Hey, Jonathan Woodgate, 20s.
He'd get injured signing the contract, him.
Nicky Butt, 20s. Warren Joyce. Where was Warren Joyce?
Salford.
He was at Salford in their academy, I think, but I don't know whether he's still there.
25-1. Dean Keats, Wrexham, 25-1. There's a lot of last at Wrexham. Michael Jolly, who was last at Barrow. Paul Heckingbottom, 25-1. He was at Barnsley, wasn't he? Last at Sheffield United. He hasn't.
Was he not at Hibs? Or was he hit at Sheffield United after Hibs?
Well, this shows how daft it is. Neil Warnock's in at 25-1. Is it? I'll tell you what, Sol Campbell stepped forward. It's Sol's job, isn't it?
He has been rumoured in the past, Sol Campbell.
Yeah, give it Sol.
Yeah, before he got the Southend job, he was rumoured to be in then. Before
he's had some bad jobs, though, hasn't
he? Yeah. He likes a club who's in trouble.
Darren Needham's just mentioned Simon Grayson, who's obviously just been sacked as well at Fleetwood, and the calibre of club he's been managing is getting lower and lower, hasn't it? So you know, maybe there's a shout there. What about Dean Holden there? Pete Harrington's given a shout out. You know, he's not working, is this? I don't think, since got sacked by Bristol City.
His assistant at Stoke, I think. Dean Holden.
That's right. Yeah.
He's not manager though, is he? Is what I mean. He's not, you know, at the helm.
I don't think he'd come back at the minute, would he? Let's be honest.
Nice little job at Stoke, or you want to be at Oldham where it's an absolute shower.
This is it, isn't it? This is it. I mean, the thing is, I suppose, is if somebody does come in for half a season and keeps us up, it's not a bad thing for their CV, is it? And if it's somebody who needs a, you know, that, because that's obviously will be deemed a success, all things considered. And it's a bit of a free hit, isn't it? 6 months, give it a go. You know,
it's mad.
6 months is a long shot, isn't it? It's
I know.
It's surprised if anyone lasted that long at the minute.
I don't think we've had a manager. We haven't had a manager under this lot that has lasted the amount of time it takes to grow a baby, have we? Like you couldn't have gone full term. Like you would, you know. It's crazy. It's like
the longest is Richie Wellens, isn't it? Well, I checked before. I think it's 43 games he managed. And that's September to.
I thought, what's Curl at then? I thought he was
Curl's one game less than Kewell, I saw. So yeah, about 40 or 41, something like that. So we've never had it. They've never had a manager do 50 games.
They might not like that number. That's why
they're over 50 games.
Right, we've been doing this an hour.
Feels like longer.
Before you do, what do you reckon the atmosphere? What do you reckon the atmosphere is going to be like at Salford?
Yeah, I'd quite like to be there. If I'm honest,
I'm hopeful fans will make the voices heard about the absolute shit show that it is at the minute.
Last time, weren't it, at Salford?
Yeah. I think there's a nice little bit of symmetry there. I think coming back around, I think it's going to be toxic and really, really toxic because it's Salford, it's down the road. Everyone's going to have been on the beers and it's nice and early. It's standing. It's going to be raucous, and I'm looking forward to joining in with it. To be honest,
I saw someone tweet the other day. It's is it about nearly 2 years or so since we went there last and were in the ground, and I think Danny Rowe scored, didn't he? And he's close to his debut or whatever, or very, very close to that. And it was pretty toxic that day. There was a lot of, you know, we're shit and we're sick of it. Who'd have thought that 2 years later we'd be even shitter and even more sick of it?
Yeah, I think we all did probably. I think if the conditions were that you would be under the same ownership, then yeah, I think there was only ever one way it was going to go on it. So, listen, I think it's been fun giving this a go. I think apart from the first couple of minutes with the sound issues, it's all gone rather swimmingly, really. So it's definitely something I'd like to do more of. Certainly do a bit more with the sort of audience participation and getting people's views across. It's something I'd like to do with the foundation, Brad. I'd like to do some live streams, so give people the chance to ask us questions, and same with PTB. I think it's a really good way of like interacting with the fans and getting people a chance to say what they want, whether they're in Shaw or Nova Scotia, as we've had tonight with Dave Wrigley's in Nova Scotia. So I think it'd be really good. So we'll start to use the technology and the desire out there to get Latics info, which there is. There's loads of people out there that want all this information, regardless of how difficult it is to get it in other forms of media. But like, we have been all over the media, haven't we? And we need to keep it up. We need to keep the message out there. We need to keep banging this drum. Literally on Saturday, I hope that drum's there and it's nice and loud. And we'll keep we'll keep our eyes peeled on the website and that, and we'll see what the story is with the manager. I mean, if we get beat 8-2 like his youth team did on Saturday, I don't think he'll be in position very long, will he?
Well, if we lose it by 6, Abdallah says he has to go. Like,
yeah, Who
was it? I can't even remember now.
Frankie Bum.
Frankie Bunn, yeah, that's the one.
But he's not the only one who got dicked by 6, was it? Who else was it? Harry
Dino.
Kewell.
That was 6-1. That was 6-1 now.
Oh. Q had a couple of shockers, didn't he? Maybe 5. So I don't think he got to 6.
Kewell had a couple of shockers, all right. There's no danger there.
I would like to see the record of the managers after they've been sacked. What's the result afterwards for us? That'd be an interesting stato for the statos.
What the stats are elsewhere. Well, like Welland's obviously got better for a bit at least.
No, us. So we sacked a manager, brought the new guy in. Has he won or lost or drawn?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
On his first game.
Well.
Right, nice one.
Been a pleasure, lads.
Enjoy Saturday.
Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for all your comments. If you were getting involved there, then couldn't get them all up on the screen. And my brain doesn't work very well at listening to a conversation and reading something at the same time. Multitasking is just not for me. So, but don't worry, we'll get a producer in at some point who does all that stuff, and we'll be laughing. But yeah, thanks for getting involved, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time, lads. And don't forget to the podcast and all that shit. All right. Cheers.
See you later, lads.